So good morning. It's great to have all of you here. It's a very good turnout, and so we are really encouraged by the numbers that we see here in this side event. So it's fantastic to have all of you here. So good morning from us. Good morning to everyone, from parties to observer organizations. So welcome very much from our side to the Ocean Dialogue side event. My name is Julio Cordano, and together with my colleague Naya Lodi from Canada, as co-facilitators of the Ocean Climate Change Dialogue, we have convened this event to engage with you, with parties and observers, in the same spirit that we did during our climate change dialogue in Bonn, in order to share with you some information about the key messages of our report that we try to reflect the excellent exchanges that we had in Bonn in our dialogue, and also about the recommendations that we put together as co-facilitators for this COP. So in fact, the objective of this event is to give you, parties and observers, an opportunity to reflect on these key messages, as well as on possible outcomes for the ocean at COP29. We will hear from party representatives and experts on the various initiatives and good practices and how they are enhancing ocean-based climate action. So before we start, I think there's a QR code that can be displayed on the screen, so that will allow you to participate in the ongoing discussions. So I'll give you a moment to scan that QR code. And of course, it could stay on the screen for a few moments so we can move on. I would like to introduce our moderator for the event. Thank you very much, Anna Marie Laura from Ocean Conservancy, who convenes the Friends of Ocean and Climate Action. And let me just pause there for a moment just to say that one of the characteristics of the dialogue, Ocean and Climate Dialogue, has been precisely how closely we are working with the observer organizations and civil society. As you know, our Ocean and Climate Dialogue has been organized around breakout groups. We have also panels, but the breakout groups were a mix of participation and even facilitation from members of the Ocean and Climate Action and other stakeholders that are present in our dialogue. So that's very close coordination and work together has been extremely beneficial for the success of the dialogue. So thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for being here. But before I give the floor to Anne-Marie, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Cecilia Kitunga Njenga, who is UNFCCC director, that will be delivering some opening remarks. Just let me say that Anna-Marie, that she will be facilitating the next session of our side event, and she will be also in charge of reminding interventions that to try to remain brief, to the point, and so we can allow everyone to speak. So with that, and she will be making some signaling for everyone to understand that time is coming up, and we need to move on to the next speakers. So with that, I would like to thank you very much, Cecilia. I know it is a very busy time. Many things are happening at the moment, so I really appreciate the time that you are giving us to provide some opening remarks. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Julio, and very good morning to all of you. On behalf of UNFCCC, we're really glad that the oceans community has also found it fit to create some spaces where the issue of oceans and climates can be also discussed and infused into the various negotiation tracks. And I hope it also finds its place on the political messaging that will emerge out of this COP29. So I'm very pleased to welcome you to this side event on 2024 Ocean and Climate Change Dialogue. Many of you have actively participated and contributed to the Ocean Dialogue. And thank you for sharing your insights and advancing the work on the ocean under the UNFCCC process. Today, provides a very important opportunity to reflect on the outcomes of the 2024 Ocean Dialogue and to continue the exchange of knowledge on key initiatives and processes that can enhance ocean-based climate action. Our core facilitators, Neil and Julio, will present the key messages from the informal summary report of the Ocean Dialogue. Parties and experts and all of you here will be called to highlight the role of the Ocean Dialogue and its messaging in rising climate ambition. We will also hear about your expectations for the role of the ocean for this COP. As the term of our two co-chairs, co-facilitators draws to a close, both Julio Codana and Neil Odia, I really want to thank you. I really want to thank you for taking the moment to dedicate your time and efforts to this course. We wish to express our sincere appreciation to your tireless dedication in making the Ocean Dialogue a vital platform for knowledge exchange and promoting collaboration across parties and observers alike. We thank you both for a very, very, very outstanding efforts. We have a full agenda ahead, and we are excited to hear from all of you and all your enriching perspectives. So let me not take any more of your time, and to thank you very much and wish you a very pleasant stay here in Baku. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. And I was referring before to the great partnership that we have with observers, but also I think it would be only fair to say that we have received an excellent support from the Secretariat. So through you, I would like to also, on behalf of myself and Niall, express our appreciation for the excellent work that we have done together. With Jasdeep, there is plotting around in the room, making sure that everything runs smoothly. But overall, in the Secretariat, we have found always very good partnerships to work together. So thank you very much for that. So with that, I would like now to invite Niall to present our key messages and outcomes of the informal summary report that I hope everybody had the chance to go through and read at least the key messages that we are proposing, which we believe are sort of the ideas that really stand out as the dialogue developed in Bonn, but also in the moment we are in the UNFCCC process. So with that, I'll give the floor to Niall.
Thank you very much, Julio, and a pleasure to be here with you all. And I would echo my thanks to the Secretariat for their excellent support over these past couple of years. So I'll ask for the presentation to be put on screen. I think many of you in this room will be highly familiar with this document, but I thought it important to provide a brief summary to help situate our discussions today. And I'll start that summary with a little bit of history, because I think it's important to understand where the ocean has been within the UNFCCC process and to inform where we see that moving in the future. So the recognition of the ocean's critical role in climate change under the UNFCCC has evolved significantly over time. And that really started with COP25, where the Chile-Madrid Time for Action saw governments recognizing the need to strengthen action on ocean and climate change under the UNFCCC process. So that first formal recognition. That was quickly followed in COP26 with the Glasgow Climate Pact, where parties invited relevant UNFCCC bodies to integrate ocean-based actions into their mandates and report on those activities. Then at COP27, in the Sharm el-Sheikh implementation plan, parties were encouraged to include ocean-based actions in their national climate goals, including the NDCs. The key outcome here was the establishment of an annual ocean and climate change dialogue facilitated by two co-facilitators selected by the parties biennially. As you know, Julio and I have had the honor of serving in that capacity for the 2023-2024 ocean dialogues. And these dialogues have really become an important platform for knowledge exchange and strengthening ocean-based climate action within the UNFCCC context. The first facilitated ocean dialogue took place during Substa 58 on two topics. First, coastal ecosystem restoration, including blue carbon, and second, fisheries and food security. In the outcome of the first global stocktake last year, parties welcomed the 2023 dialogue outcomes and encouraged further strengthening of ocean-based action as appropriate. Turning then to the most recent dialogue, the 2024 Ocean Dialogue, again held at Substa 60, focused on the topics of marine biodiversity conservation and coastal resilience, and secondly, technology needs for ocean climate action, including finance links. This was a very well-attended dialogue. The Secretariat estimates that roughly 400 representatives from parties and observers attended throughout that period and shared more than 300 case studies and good practices. As co-facilitators, we synthesized the topical and cross-cutting messages from the 2 days of the dialogue discussions, including breakout group discussions and plenary statements. We, in this context, wanted to briefly highlight selected key messages of topic 1 and 2, including those for COP29. We hope these messages are helpful for parties, especially in the context of the preparation of their new NDCs that are due early in 2025. These key messages may also be useful for parties in implementing existing mandates, including those in respect of the first GST outcome. We encourage parties to read these messages in conjunction and as a complement to the key messages contained in the previous informal summary reports of the Ocean and Climate Change Dialogue. So, a central message of the first topic is that conserving and restoring blue carbon ecosystems provide vital nature-based solutions, support local livelihoods, and protect coastal communities from sea level rise, while also sequestering carbon and providing a range of ecosystem services and benefits. Additionally, marine protected areas play a key role in safeguarding marine biodiversity and increasing resilience to climate change. In this regard, we encourage parties to implement the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework's 30 by 30 goal and to ratify the BBNJ agreement. Parties' efforts in advancing marine biodiversity conservation, including through the establishment of SOPs, ICZM, and MSP, should be combined with building capacity, facilitating knowledge sharing, as well as skills development. Improved availability of and access to finance for blue carbon ecosystems, including through the implementation of nature-based solutions in marine protected areas, can enable accelerated climate action. Long-term tailored financing models, including results-based payments, are essential for ensuring the sustainability and efficiency of these initiatives. And I just note finally for topic 1 that this is a continuation of last year's topic. There was very strong interest in this. And so we'd really encourage colleagues and parties to read together the messages contained here, as well as those from the 2023 dialogue. Looking then at topic 2, party participants discussed a range of renewable energy technologies for the ocean, green shipping technologies, satellite-based remote sensing technologies, as well as automated ocean-based technologies. These all have the potential to deliver long-term carbon emission reductions with low environmental impacts and to contribute to real-time data collection. Technology needs assessments are effective tools for identifying, developing, and deploying ocean-based technologies and can guide the development of parties' NDCs. By involving all stakeholders, those needs assessments can help identify technologies with high potential for climate mitigation and adaptation, while also addressing barriers to technology development and uptake. Marine carbon dioxide removal technologies involve uncertainties around effectiveness, costs, and governance, which require more research. Parties should consider these factors and trade-offs, including the implementation of the International Maritime Organization's amendments to regulate marine geoengineering. And finance and capacity building here as well are crucial for accelerating ocean climate action, particularly in developing countries, LDCs, and SIDS. Innovative finance instruments like blue bonds, blended finance, and private sector involvement can help overcome barriers and attract funding for ocean conservation in these spaces. Looking then to our cross-cutting messages, which are things that we have looked to apply in each of our informal summary reports, I would just highlight a few here, and they're important to this current COP. So parties are encouraged to include ocean-based mitigation and adaptation measures in their NDCs and NAPs, and to align those with amongst NDCs, NAPs, and NBSAPs from the Kunming-Montreal Protocol. Strengthening partnerships and promoting cooperation can help to drive ocean-based action and enhance data accessibility. Constituted bodies per the Glasgow mandate are encouraged to continue integrating ocean into relevant work plans and activities. In the context of the GST follow-up, parties may consider submitting their views on ocean mandates contained in the GST decision. And finally, parties may wish to consider how the negotiated outcomes on the financial mandates can support the implementation of projects, case studies, and priority areas that have been identified through the ocean dialogue. Lastly, I'll just identify a couple of upcoming events where we'll have further opportunities for engagement on the Ocean Climate Dialogue. You can see them here on the screen, and we'll have a number of other opportunities to engage both at this COP and in the years ahead. And with that, I will thank you and turn the floor back to our moderator. So Anna Maria, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Niall, for this presentation. Incredibly helpful and also an excellent introduction and transition into our next segment, which will showcase ocean-related initiatives, including those related to NDCs, NAPs, from parties and experts. These will align with the key messages of the 2024 Ocean Dialogue. I think there should be a Menti code that will be displayed on the screen. Please use this code to ask questions of the presenters. Time permitting, we may be able to take some questions. And so with that, I will hand it back over to Julio to introduce the next round of speakers.
Thank you very much, Anna Marie. As I was saying, to ensure that we have an adequate use of our time, Anna Marie will display a card when the speaker is approaching the 5-minute mark, and probably she will sort of raise her flag just to make sure that everybody is on time. So first of all, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Rollstone Moore, Senior Climate Change Specialist and Multilateral Environment Agreements Coordinator of the Global Environment Facility, better known, is not here? Oh, right. So thank you very much, Mr. Moore. So I'll invite you to the stage and to take the floor.
Thank you very much, co-facilitator. And it's not good afternoon yet, but good morning to everyone. I hope everyone is well. And thank you for having the Global Environment Facility here and allowing us to make a few brief comments and statements. So thanks for this invitation. And at the last event, I think my colleague Filippo was here, and he was quite honored to participate in the dialogue in June. And as part of the financial mechanism, obviously the GEF has had a long history of support from many parts of the UNFCCC. In terms of ocean conservation over the last 3 decades, the GEF has probably invested about $3 billion directly into protecting oceans. In our current cycle, in our current GEF programming, more than 800 million has been used in strengthening marine ecosystem conservation and sustainable management of marine natural resources through different and multiple entry points. So as many of you may be aware, but some of you may not be aware, the GEF Trust Fund has different focal areas. Climate change mitigation is one. We have a biodiversity focal area, and another focal area which we have is the international waters focal area, which focuses a lot on oceans. And we have invested about 1.6 billion for protecting coastal and marine ecosystems, and that has leveraged a substantial amount of resources in terms of co-financing, and this is for more than 250 projects around the world, including areas beyond national jurisdiction. Additionally, one key aspect which is overlooked in terms of GEF programming is the fact that the GEF has an ability to combine in different focal areas. and thus it can have a greater impact. Given that the GEF is actually a family of funds, it's just not one fund. We have the GEF Trust Fund, which is the major fund, but we also have the Least Developed Country Fund, Special Climate Change Fund. We recently have the Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. So the GEF can blend those finances to get bigger and greater impacts. So, and the GEF is also the financial mechanism for the BBNJ agreement, and the GEF can support countries in addressing these multiple issues through more integrated programming. So in June at the dialogue, a key focus was on technology and finance. And compared to many public sources of funding, the GEF has a high risk tolerance, including several dedicated funding windows for piloting new approaches. There's also a non-grant instrument, there's an innovation window, and there's a challenge event for adaptation innovation. And we do have an extremely important event on that on Friday the 15th, where we announce the winners of that particular challenge event and that particular adaptation innovation program. GEF is the place to take risks. It's the place for innovation. It's a place for learning. And it's also the place to learn from unsuccessful ventures, how they haven't worked, and what we need to do to make them work. We have some examples. We do have, for examples, there was references to bonds, etc. earlier. And we have there are some recent ocean examples of a coral bond in the Indonesia and coral reef insurance facility in many of the Indonesian islands and some Pacific islands. So focusing on technology, these dialogues can act as a catalyst for accelerating adaptation and mitigation-based climate change adaptation, enabling climate resilience development. Here, the GEF has been working for decades and has many decades of experience in investing in a range of technologies to accelerate action, especially focused on some mitigation. From microgrids to mobility to natural-based solutions, we started to see a stronger demand from countries to apply this to the marine environment. And for example, we've recently approved exploring a floating solar. I can never say floating properly. Floating solar, floating solar, and a larger interest to support assessments of blue carbon stocks in many NDCs. In this area of technology, I think there is a key area for many SIDS to start to look, because the SIDS aren't really SIDS, they're large marine states, and there's an area here where they need to look to see how they can benefit using their marine space and apply technologies which can assist them with their sustainable development and building resilience. We echo much of the information which is in the report summary from the dialogue and the key messages. One that especially stood out relates to supporting parties with sufficient accounting of oceans in NDCs. Internally at the GEF, we're looking at how we may support the coalition of good practices and science-based solutions for the basis of a more structured discussion on specific tools to support the effort, such as potentially developing voluntary guidelines. How are we doing with that?
Good to wrap it up soon.
Hmm?
Good to wrap it up.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
So we have a lot to do to better align the ocean and the climate agendas. We need to be very strategic, and we at the GEF believe that our integrated design can play a key role in connecting the environmental challenges which we have and providing some solutions. So for facilitators, I will take the orders and stop here.
Thank you very much. I think we can appreciate with a round of applause. And thank you very much. So also, just to commend you for the work that the GEF is doing in those, and for highlighting some opportunities and options that parties already have, especially as they are developing the new NDCs. So thank you very much again, Mr. Moore. So now I'm particularly pleased to introduce now Mrs. Anna Toni, National Secretary for Climate Change, Minister of Environment and Climate Change from Brazil. And I can also say now that we're at COP29, representative for the incoming presidency of COP30. So I'm very sure that we will be knocking at the door of Brazil just to make sure that the ocean keeps a very important and prominent space in COP30. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation, Julio, and congratulations for the Ocean Dialogue, for Chile and Canada for your leadership. And I don't think you need to bang too much on our door because our doors will be closed for the ocean topic. For open, absolutely open, not closed, open for the ocean to come for COP30. So in terms of what Brazil is doing, from the beginning of this new administration from President Lula, the first thing that we have done is to put oceans, the topic of oceans and the Department of Ocean inside of the Climate Change Secretariat of the Ministry of Environment. So we have oceans within climate, and that has helped us a great deal. The second thing that we have done is put ocean directly in our national climate plan. So now we do have an ocean plan under the climate plan of Brazil. And Brazil yesterday has just launched our NDC. We announced our NDC here at the COP. We have a target that says we're going to decarbonize by up to 67% of our emissions compared to 2005. And we see oceans as a key element to help Brazil to achieve its own NDC. So how is ocean going to help us in doing so? What we've been able to put in our climate ocean action plan is first, we put the marine spatial planning as a key element for that. Brazil has 8.7 thousand kilometers of coastal zone, so it's a long coastal zone, and we really need to manage that coastal zone and ocean zone in a much better way in order to help us to achieve our climate plans, not only for mitigation, but obviously for adaptation on the coastal zone. This is absolutely vital. And the Marine Special Plan also helps on conservation. So you see the core benefits of working on ocean for mitigation, adaptation, and conservation. That's the view, and we see the Marine Special Planning as a key tool to help us on that. Mangrove and coral reefs conservation plans also absolutely a key element that we have put in our action plan for ocean and climate. Marine conservation units, as was mentioned here before, again, as a key topic for us. Brazil has a lot of units on marine conservation. We are very, very close to our target of 30%, and we hope by 2030 to be able to achieve those targets. Then on the other side, we're looking at pollution issues and how pollution issues are also key topics for conservation, for adaptation, as well as mitigation. And obviously, when you talk about pollution, plastic is the key topic that for us, in terms of management, comes up in our climate plans. Then one topic that has become very important for Brazil, and we already represent that in the biodiversity COP16 that just finished now, and we were very happy to see that there was a paragraph agreed about the synergies between the biodiversity COP and the climate COP as well. So we have achieved that into the biodiversity to look at the synergies of those two conventions. And we are hoping at COP29 also to achieve the same type of language, encouraging the relationship between those two conventions. And again, we see oceans as one that will help us to pull this together. Under Brazil's leadership of G20, as you probably saw, Brazil has put ocean on the forefront of the climate and environmental global action agenda of the G20. This was a key topic for us. Again, the issue of marine spatial planning issues were discussed, but we also brought to the G20 the topic of the challenge of financing some of those issues. I know this is a big issue here for the Ocean Dialogue, and we are hoping to work with the Ocean Dialogue on how can we bring the views of the challenge of finance and private sector being a good partner in this topic. And a final word about COP30. So the doors are open for oceans for COP30. We hope to have a very strong, hopefully not only in the negotiation, but also an action agenda that perhaps we can work together for COP30, and we put the Brazilian government at the disposal of the Ocean Dialogue to ensure that we do that. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm very sure that the doors will be absolutely open in COP30. As you heard, Brazil is very committed to this, and thank you very much also for highlighting such an important element, such as the relation between climate change and biodiversity. As you could see in our two dialogues that we have co-chaired, biodiversity and climate change have appear very prominently. So I think this is extremely important. So thank you very much again to Anatoni for that. So we now will move on to Mrs. Mary Sundli Tveit, Chief Executive, Research Council of Norway and President Science Europe, Norway, to make her presentation. Please, Mrs. Mary, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to this very important session. This is a topic that's very personally important to me, as I think it is for everyone in this room. I want to just start by underlining how important I think that this 2024 Ocean Dialogue is, and it's really coming along so strongly. You've shown the timeline. This is of crucial importance. I think it's obvious to everyone here that the oceans are such a crucial and innate part of the climate endeavor, and it has to, of course, have a very strong position in the UNFCCC processes. So I just wanted to say that from the beginning, and also it's very encouraging to hear from Brazil and how this is going to be taken further already. Now, needless to say, we all know that the ocean is our own, it's our common heritage, it's our origin, it's a fundamental prerequisite for life on Earth as we know it. And the ocean binds us together, and at the same time, because of us, the ocean faces so difficult pressures, catastrophic. It's overfishing, it's pollution, it's warming, it's oil spills, it's plastic waste. We've heard numerous examples already in this session. It threatens marine resources and also, by this an extension, our own survival. Now, we're halfway into the UN decade of ocean science, and Norway has been very involved in this, so I want to use part of this speech to talk about that. There are 5 more years to go, and I want to remind us all of the vision of this decade. It's the science that we need for the ocean that we want. And I'm here representing the research funders. So this is why this is to work with the knowledge base and to make sure that we leverage as much as we can, that we build the strongest possible knowledge base. This is of extreme importance for us in Norway, but also in Science Europe with all the funders in Europe. So of course, this vision is of utmost importance for Norway to follow this call. And And this is really a cornerstone of the Norwegian economy, of the Norwegian society. It has been in the past, it is now, and it's going to be in the future, which is also why the Prime Minister of Norway, Jonas Gahr Støre, he's a patron of the Ocean Decade Alliance. And we in the Research Council, we have the Secretariat of the decade, and we're also responsible for coordinating and following up on Norwegian efforts related to the Ocean Decade, or the Decade of Ocean Science. Now, because of this, and also because of who we are as an ocean and also polar nation, this is a very strong research priority for us. It always has been. We're an ocean nation, as I said, we're a polar nation. We've always lived by and from the sea. We've also got the world's longest coastline, in fact, with all our tiny islands and all the rest of it. So we have very strong research communities on every dimension of ocean research, and we've also invested in very important infrastructure to collect data. We've got we've got vessels, icebreakers, we've got autonomous observer systems, we've got polar research stations in Antarctica and obviously in Svalbard in the Arctic. And all of this and the link between polar and ocean research that shapes our approach to the Decade of Ocean Science. You all know the 10 Ocean Decade challenges on the road to 2030. I'm not going to repeat it. And what we've all been looking for in strengthening the knowledge base is what does success look like for those challenges to be fulfilled at the end of the decade. And it's of pivotal importance, I think, that we use this Ocean Decade, the Decade of Ocean Science, as an opportunity to scale up ocean-based mitigation and adaptation solutions. So this is something that we do in Norway. It's very important for us to help to do everything that we can to reach this goal. And we still need, I mean, we already do know a lot, but we need more research on specific aspects on the climate's effects on the ocean and vice versa, and to have a better holistic understanding of these large, complex systems. I want to tell you just very quickly about two initiatives that we have in Norway. There was a grand joint research effort, the Nansen Legacy Project. It's the biggest project, interdisciplinary project that we've had in Norway through times. Yeah. So it covers the sustainable management. It's holistic. It covers the sustainable management of marine ecosystems, human presence in polar areas, and it really emphasizes dialogue, stakeholder involvement, and so forth. So I think that's a model on how we can approach this. I also want to mention the largest research infrastructure investment that we've done, which is the Crown Prince Haakon icebreaker vessel, which is now sort of touring the globe and making top-notch research frontier research go on in all polar areas. But then the call from the Ocean Dialogue is to put it into use, in policy, management, and in the ocean industries. And I want to just quickly mention the high-level panel for sustainable ocean economy, which we co-share between Norway and Palau. This is an important initiative in this regard to sort of frame all these efforts. We've been doing this since 2018. I think initiatives like this, along with many research activities and projects worldwide, they're very hopeful, and it's still possible to develop and implement the knowledge-based policies that we need to protect our oceans. And this is so fundamental to life on this planet. So while much of the current research and management focuses on protecting the ocean from human impact, there's also recognitions of the ocean's vast sustainable research potential for future livelihoods. And I think that was very evident in the examples that you gave. So achieving the goal of making political and commercial decisions based on the best available science is crucial. And we're going to do what we can to achieve this. And this way, we can help safeguard the future of life in the oceans and humanity alike. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tweet, for your intervention. And I think it's a such an important contribution to hear from, particular government institution that is promoting science, observation, and also for all the initiatives that has been spearheaded by Norway, like the high-level panel, which is, I think, it's very prominent and important and relevant for this case. So thank you very much again. So I would like to now to invite Mr. Muhammad Yusuf, who is Director of Coastal and Small Islands Utilization from the Ministry of Marine Affairs and Fisheries from Indonesia, to present your comments and remarks. Mr. Yusuf, then you have the floor.
Okay. This forward. Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me here. It is an honor to be here on behalf of the government of Indonesia to share Indonesian experience and challenges in integrating ocean-based climate action into NDC. Okay, Excellency, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, in order to achieve Indonesian NDC target to control GHG emission in the national development, we enacted government regulation number 98/2021. In this regulation marked the way of integrating ocean-based action into NDC. Article 8 and Article 32 of the regulation mandated the ocean or blue carbon sector as addition to the existing sector of NDC, both in mitigation and adaptation. This year, Indonesia is finalizing its second NDC with some updates, including the addition of ocean sector for mitigation action. For the adaptation, we strengthen our action toward the coastal ecosystem by focusing not only mangroves, but also for coral reefs and seagrass meadows. It is our strong commitment to the implementation of the SAM-LC implementation plan, which encourage parties to consider ocean-based action in the national climate goals and the implementation of these goals. And in this case, is in Indonesia's NDC. Under ocean sector, we calculated a seagrass blue carbon inventory. Along the process, we identify several gaps that need to overcome to produce a robust inventory on seagrass. Therefore, after discussion with our national focal point, as initial step, we decided to start with narrative substance on the ocean in the second NDC. At the same time, we try to calculate the inventory and mitigation action with the best available data that we have. So if you see our second NDC that will be submitted at the end of this year, we'll find that the ocean sector still in the narrative form. Currently, we have 4 big issues that need to an immediate solution. First, related to the seagrass coverage and map, we don't have the exact number of seagrass coverage and also national map. Therefore, for the last few years, we worked with several universities and agencies to develop the national maps for seagrass meadows. Currently, we are on this final stage, and seagrass maps ready to be launched at the end of this year, together with another shallow water benthic habitats such as mangrove, coral reefs and macroalgae. Second, we found that we lack of research on seagrass carbon, and we have no database to collect and to save those data in one place. Most of the research on the blue carbon that we have is related to the mangrove carbon, not the seagrass carbon. We do have some research on the seagrass carbon, but not in national-wide scale, and sometimes conducted with the different methods. The research data is also scattered. Therefore, we developed a national database for ocean carbon, including blue carbon. Third, inventory and mitigation action. We are using IPCC guideline on wetland supplement for calculating, but due to the lack of research, we are still using tier 1 for the emission factor. We are looking forward for several research by prominent university in Indonesia that support us to do primary survey in some pilot area for more accurate number. And lastly, policy and regulation. So far, we have some sectoral policy and regulation on the way, but blue carbon has been one strategic issue in blue economy policy. We already enacted degree on roadmap for climate change mitigation action in marine and fisheries sector, and also degree on guideline for mapping shallow water benthic habitat. We have 3 ongoing regulation regulating in the implementation of carbon pricing in marine and fisheries sector. Certification of seagrass blue carbon project and standardization for blue carbon seagrass measurement. At all these measures to fill the gap takes time and of course costly. Indonesia realized that we cannot work alone. Presently, we have support from several development partners, NGO, TSO, universities, and other related organizations. Before I end this presentation, I would like to remind us all about the importance of the ocean in our lives and how climate change impacted the coastal community. Let's do something now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf, and we will take that message with us. You know, let's move on. Let's do something about the ocean, and I think this is precisely what we're trying to achieve here. And of course, you know, it's great for you to share challenges. And I think that are repeated along many other cases. So thank you very much. It's very valuable. So now I'll pass the floor to Niall to continue with the program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julio. So next, we'd like to invite Elise Murphy, who's the Director of Climate Inclusion and Intersectionality Policy with the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water for Australia. Ms. Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Just waiting for the slides to come on up. So I'll start off by also echoing thanks to the co-facilitators for your excellent leadership on the Ocean Climate Nexus and for inviting Australia to present here today. I also want to start by acknowledging that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have been stewards of Australia's oceans, waters and lands for tens of thousands of years. The knowledges, sciences and practices of Indigenous peoples are critically important to climate action and to the protection and conservation of our oceans. I'm going to briefly speak to you today about Australia's Sustainable Ocean Plan in the context of the key messages from the Ocean Dialogue report. So the Ocean and Climate Dialogue is obviously critically important to Australia as an island nation, which now protects more ocean than any other country on Earth. Australia's commitment to develop a Sustainable Ocean Plan was made by our Prime Minister as our member on the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy. This panel is a unique global initiative made up of 19 world leaders from 6 continents. Member countries of the panel collectively represent 50% of global coastlines. The commitment of the Ocean Panel is to ensure that 100% of the ocean under their national jurisdiction is sustainably managed by 2025, guided by sustainable ocean plans. The purpose of Australia's Sustainable Ocean Plan is to allow us to look at the ocean that we have now, identify the ocean that we want in the future, and move towards agreement on the actions that will get us there. Diving a little bit deeper into the plan, the draft national vision of the plan is to commit to working together for a better ocean future, where our coasts and ocean are healthy and resilient, where we make sustainable use of our ocean resources, and where we can all share in the benefits that flow from it now and into the future. To achieve this vision, we have identified 8 national priorities for action. You'll note that these priorities strongly align with many of the key messages from this year's report, including strengthening the link between our oceans and climate action, protecting livelihoods, protecting and restoring coastal and ocean ecosystems, and the need for adequate financing and technology. While these proposed priorities are high level and we need to do more work to bring them to life, they provide a clear starting point for our planning. Given the focus today on the Ocean Dialogue and its report, I want to speak quickly to 2 of the relevant priorities: climate action and finance. The proposed outcomes that we want to work towards are building a better understanding of climate impacts on the ocean and ensuring that we are equipped to respond to these impacts, having ocean ecosystems and species that are resilient and that can adapt, and ocean ecosystems and ocean industries that can make a major contribution to Australia's net zero emissions target. Given these proposed outcomes, we very much see our plan as mainstreaming the ocean climate nexus at a national level and complementing not only our upcoming NDC, but also our NAP and our recently updated NBSAP. Some of the opportunities for collective national action that we will be taking forward are elevating the role of ocean-based climate action, scaling up nature-based solutions, detailed assessments of climate risk, mechanisms to deliver near real-time ocean climate information, building resilience to climate change impacts, and developing specific adaptation plans. As with all good strategies, we'd be remiss to not speak about the role of finance and financial systems. Proposed outcomes that we are seeking are a financial system that actively and positively contributes to the protection and restoration of ocean ecosystems and sustainable ocean activities, and is based on clear and internationally aligned standards and frameworks. The opportunities for collective national action are exploring a national investment prospectus for nature positive ocean, building capability on nature-related risks and opportunities, and continued support for the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures frameworks, nature-based solutions, and other relevant initiatives. Australians are renowned for speaking pretty quickly, so I hope I didn't speak too quickly and you could still understand what I was saying. So that was a pretty quick overview on how we are bringing ocean and climate together within our Sustainable Ocean Plan. So I invite you all to read more detail on the 8 priorities and opportunities for action in our draft plan, which you can find by scanning that QR code on it, and leads you to our website. QR code up there next to that delightful fishy. So that's it. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you very much, Elise, and great to hear both the ambition and clarity of the Australian approach and also this important concept of mainstreaming these actions into both, the national industries, as well as looking at mainstreaming in their conception of finance and how it's approached for the ocean. Excellent, really helpful. I now invite Ms. Micah Williamson, member of the Least Developed Countries Expert Group, to speak on behalf of the LEG. So if we have Ms. Williamson in the room, you have the floor. And I will apologize and thank Richard Mafumu for joining us to represent the LEG. Richard, you have the floor, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, co-facilitators, and good morning, colleagues. My name is Richard Lungu from the Republic of Zambia. I'm here representing the Least Developed Countries Expert Group, the LEG, and we are very honored to be here and would like to express our sincere appreciation for this opportunity to share our insights on the work of the LEG in relation to the topic under discussion, which is ocean and climate change here at COP29. As you all know, coastal and marine ecosystems are uniquely vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. With sea level rise, ocean acidification, saltwater intrusion, and rising sea temperatures posing significant threats to both the biodiversity and the communities that rely on these particular ecosystems. These risks underscore the urgency of adaptation. And as led, and we did an analysis of the maps that have been submitted. And what we have noticed is that the majority of the maps reflects this particular urgency, with 76% identifying sea level rise as a major hazard, and 35 NAPs prioritizing coastal zones for climate resilience measures. We all know that the NAPs are instrumental in implementation of long-term integrated adaptation strategies that are holistic in nature. They offer countries the framework to assess and address risks across the multiple levels, from ecosystem health to local community resilience. In this regard, some of the least developed countries have used their NAPs to conduct detailed vulnerability and risk assessment on the coastal zones, which is a crucial step in formulating targeted and effective national adaptation actions. The impacts of climate change on fisheries and aquaculture are directly associated with high levels of vulnerability, but adaptation measures are variable. What we have seen from the analysis of the NAPs that have been submitted, many NAPs have included impactful measures that can serve as a model for future adaptation efforts. May I give now examples of what we have seen in these particular NAPs? We have examples such as initiatives such as restoring mangroves and coastal barriers, combined with integrated coastal zones management to provide both the buffer against climate hazards and the foundation for biodiversity conservation. Some NAPs have actually put measures such as establishing long-term monitoring system for sea level rise and mangrove health monitoring. Enhancing technical capacity for effective coastal zone management, including developing blue economy and ecosystem management policies. Other NAP have included examples such as promoting non-destructive fishing techniques to maintain the resilience of ecosystem balance. In addition, several countries have also included marine resilience in their NAPs, demonstrating remarkable commitment in this particular area. For example, some countries have identified integrated coastal climate change adaptation plan within their NAPs, setting an example for comprehensive adaptation. Others have also embedded climate adaptation directly into its coastal policies. I think Brazil is one of those countries that actually mentioned that, underscoring the need for policy alignment to support long-term resilience. Looking ahead, the GGA target on ecosystem and biodiversity provide the necessary direction to safeguard natural assets such as oceans and coastal zones. The updated technical guidelines, which we are actually developing, and also we have made progress on them, embody the GGA targets to redirect future NAPs towards better achievement of GGA targets that I've just mentioned. In this regard, the LEG remains committed to working with interested stakeholders to further scale up adaptation in all key thematic areas. The NAP Expo 2025, which will take place in April 2025, tentatively in my country, Zambia, provides that opportunity for us to showcase or further showcase what could be done to promote synergy and also marine protection and also conservation of the biodiversity. The LEG invites interested stakeholders to consider organizing sessions or events on the intersection of oceans and climate resilience. In this context, it is essential not only to consider how to integrate ocean-related adaptation measure into the NAPS, but also to explore innovative financing approaches. These approaches should draw from a diverse range of sources and funding mechanism, moving beyond traditional grants and the concessional loans. Finally, we wish to take this opportunity to and we wish to appreciate this opportunity and look forward to working closely with everyone to support the LDCs and the people living within them in addressing the adverse impacts of climate change. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lungu, and thank you for both highlighting the important role of NAPS. And it's evident in your presentation how NAPS support not just adaptation needs, but also support biodiversity conservation and have a role in potentially supporting blue carbon efforts as well. So we appreciate that. And thank you for highlighting the opportunity coming up in April 2025. So we'll now move on to our final presenter before we open to our plenary. So I'd welcome to the stage Ms. Atika Ben Maïd, Deputy Head of the Department of Climate and Nature, Agence Française de Développement for France. So Ms. Ben Maïd, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us on this really important topic. I'll talk mainly on the side from AFD, French Development Agency, being a public development bank, and how the financing institution, the DFIs, what the DFIs can bring to the oceans agenda. And first, I want to recall something, and you said that in the beginning of the presentation, that days are not so old that oceans were not that high and that in the agenda and didn't have that much visibility in this arena, such like the COP. And now we have this session today, and we thank you for organizing that and inviting us. But also in Cali, that was just a few days ago, we can take note that actually some of the topics where there was substantial progress were marine areas, biodiversity, and adaptation to climate change, where in both cases, oceans are central and crucial. What it reflects is that it is our shared priority, and it's actually a really important and positive signal for us, as you know that France will be co-hosting with Costa Rica the UN Ocean Conference in Nice next year in June. To go back on AFD, French Development Agency, AFD is committed to address climate and nature together. We have been one of the first to have our activities 100% aligned with Paris Agreement. And now we are working towards, and we are committed to have our activities aligned with the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And I say that because oceans are actually central in our climate and nature commitments, given the fact that oceans are central in both aspects for our alignment Paris Agreement, but also coming Montreal alignments. We have been strongly involved in the financing of SDG 14 with, in 2023, 48 projects amounting to 800 million euros. But not to talk about volumes only. I think it's important to talk about what it means in terms of projects. There were projects, loans and grants for mangroves in Senegal, eco-ports in Indonesia, nature-based solution for adaptation in Polynesia, depollution of coastal city in Lomé, or even a regional program to fight against sargassum in the Caribbean. We have also been the first DFI to propose a dedicated ocean strategy since 2020, which has the specificity to encourage the emergence of truly ocean-positive projects, such as plastic depollution, decarbonization of marine transportation, and other type of projects that were mentioned previously. We have also set up a 6 million blue carbon facility to assist countries in better integrating and protecting blue carbon ecosystems and implementing financing mechanisms such as carbon credits, which is key in this COP. So that's why I wanted to mention it. To date, we have pilot projects in Costa Rica, Ecuador, India, Tunisia, and Philippines. Another aspect that was already mentioned by the other panelists was the adaptation of coastal cities and regions. And it is recognized, I think, by all of us as a major challenge at the intersection between the climate and ocean agendas. And we have been involved in combating coastal erosion, particularly in Vietnam or Gulf of Guinea. And for us, and I think for all of the experts, nature-based solutions are actually central for the resilience of coastal areas and to reduce the vulnerability while respecting critical natural habitats. That's why, aside from the next ocean conference in Nice that I was mentioning, the city of Nice, so the city itself, is planning to organize a forum for coastal cities and regions in order to tackle these topics of coastal resilience. And we believe also that it is the occasion to have even more DFIs and PDBs involved in this agenda. Lastly, and that will be my last comment, we have been involved in Finance in Common. Finance in Common is the gathering of more than 500 public development banks that represent more than 10% of total global investment. We are trying to bring to their attention the topic of the blue economy, the challenges and opportunities of the blue economy. That's why, together with PIB, we launched in September 2023 a joint call to action in favor of the blue economy within the Finance in Common summits. And we are trying to have increase of commitments on blue finance, boosting public-private co-financing, testing new financial tools, support also ocean-friendly policies in our partner countries, and also enhance transparency on ocean-related finance reporting. And we will gladly inform you of the progress next year and hopefully great and ambitious results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ben Maïd. Excellent to hear both the diversity of activities that your development agency is involved with, and also the particular focus on blue economy and blue carbon related issues. I think that's a really strong thing to note for this grouping, and I know it will be a focus for France in the lead up to the UN Oceans Conference, which we are all eagerly awaiting. So thank you for that. So that brings us to the end of our speakers session, and we want to sincerely thank everyone who made contributions. We'll now move on to the plenary segment, and I'll turn it over to Anna-Marie to guide us through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Niall, and thanks to all the speakers from the first segment. So we now invite parties and non-party stakeholders to reflect on the guiding question that was shared in the agenda. What could be possible outcomes for the ocean at COP29? If you wish to make an intervention, please raise your hand. This will be on a first come, first served basis, and we'll identify you from the floor. In the interest of time, so we can hear as many views as possible, please limit your remarks to 2 minutes or less. And if you have a longer statement, please feel free to email it to ocean@unfccc.int, and they'll be stored there and reflected on. So I think our first speaker to get going, and please raise your hands and indicate to me if you'd like to be added to the list, will be Dr. Svendra Michael. He's the Chief Negotiator and Fiji's Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Environment and Climate Change.
Ministers, Excellencies, co-facilitators, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Fiji delivers this statement on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island States, a grouping of 39 countries. Time permitting, other members of IOCs are encouraged to make additional contribution. IOCs participated in the June Ocean and Climate Change Dialogue and were impressed by the improvements in the process that has been introduced by the co-facilitators. We thank you for that. The themes of the dialogue resonated well with IOC's priorities, and we also welcome the contributions of experts, constituted bodies, and parties. However, we do see a need of enhancing communication of key points and conclusions in the dialogue to stakeholders in our countries. We also welcome the recommendations put forward by the co-facilitators in the report and would like to see these recommendations and lead to concrete action. One way to do this would be to communicate them to the respective work streams, such as finance, technology, mitigation, and adaptation. There were also elements of loss and damage that could be reflected in this report, such as the impact of climate change on coastal and high seas fisheries and the remedial actions that need to be considered. Going forward, we would like to see the dialogue continue and that the new co-facilitators engage with parties and experts to select the themes for 2025. We would also recommend that future recommendations from the dialogue be more linked to the relevant work streams and be shared with them in advance of events such as this one to ensure that these recommendations find the appropriate home. Given that many IOC's members are large ocean states, there should be further opportunities to seek to further reinforce our special needs and circumstances in the oceans discussions here at COP29 and at future dialogues. IOC has specific recommendations on how to better reflect a forward-looking element of this dialogue and would be willing to work with other parties once we have clarity on how the recommendations will be taken forward. We wish to see a future recommendation A be linked to more relevant work streams and B communicated to the work stream so that concrete action may flow from the dialogue. I thank you for your attention. Vinava Levu. Thank you, co-facilitators.
Thank you. And we'll take the remaining interventions from the floor. I think we'll have a representative from Belgium. Here.
Thanks a lot. My name is Ulrich Lehnas. I will be speaking on behalf of the EU and its 27 member states. Well, first of all, thanks so much to Julio and Niall for their leadership of the dialogue. I think it was excellent, and well, you really succeeded in making the ocean dialogue the connection point between the ocean community and the UNFCCC negotiations, and I think that's a key achievement, and the way you elevated the discussions and brought everybody on board is really important also for the future of the ocean and climate topic. Well, in the beginning of the session, you presented the key elements from the informal report. From our side, we think that captures very well the essence of the discussions in the ocean and climate dialogue, and they really express the excellent contributions from all parties and experts in the process. A few messages from our side. Firstly, we continue to see the ocean and climate dialogue as the appropriate forum to advancing the ocean and climate topic. We think it really can be the forum that well that takes care of integrating the ocean and climate topic in the well, basically in all of the activities under the UNFCCC process, and that also can build the relation with the other organizations, can build a relation with the CBD, with the implementation of the global biodiversity framework and with BBNJ. There's a question on what are expectations from this COP. Well, very generally, what we seek from this COP is a higher level of ambition, both in action and new action and in implementation, and well, that is of course urgently needed to keep the 1.5 within reach, and we see it as a necessity that reaching the long-term goals of the Paris Agreement are a necessity for the healthy oceans, and well, you illustrated the contribution that ocean action can make in the long-term goals. We would be in favor to have ocean-related language in the outcome text of COP29, preferably in cover decisions. And if this option would be chosen, we stand ready to engage with others to work on this. Just to conclude, it's very encouraging to hear also from the minister from Brazil the increasing attention for the topic, the will to keep it give it a high profile, and in the preparation of COP30. We have high expectations, and we really hope to work with others on that path towards the next dialogue and also to COP30. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll now have a representative from Colombia.
Hello, this is Alison Del Rio representing Colombia. First of all, we wanted to thank UN Oceans for hosting the event and giving us a platform to talk about the oceans during the ocean dialogue and the report that has been prepared and the different events that have been planned. We really appreciate that opportunity. And we will also like to emphasize on some point that we touched during our in our written statement that we shared and we find very important. First of all, we would like to highlight that we have a unique geographical position that gives us a position to talk about both the Pacific and the Caribbean oceans, and to emphasize also the global biodiversity relations that we have with this topic. And this is a very important topic to us, so we would like to further work on it. We will also like to highlight that we propose developing an innovation and technology center for ocean climate solutions in developing countries to support adaptation, mitigation, and sustainable use of marine technologies. And regarding marine protected areas, we want to mention that we have expanded marine protected areas from 1.2 million hectares in 2010 to 30.4 million hectares in 2024, engaging local communities in governance, but we still face several challenges related to capacity building specifically. So that's something we want to work on. And also we have several technological needs to allow an effective conservation management. Additionally, we want to mention that Colombia is currently using technologies such as remote sensing for geographic information systems and for marine spatial planning. But these tools, though they contribute to our goals for the SDGs, they still need, again, a lot of capacity building and technology transfer to have impactful results. And we would like to stress the need for greater international cooperation and additional resources in future COP agendas with a focus on linking ocean management, conservation, and financial mechanisms. Finally, two important points that we want to put on the table is that we want to establish an agreement on mainstreaming oceans in specific and cross-cutting negotiations for the integrated management of climate change, including mitigation, adaptation, and means of implementation. And that we believe that the ocean dialogue on climate change of 2024 and the previous ones are very important spaces that we need to continue to engage on. They should not be perpetuated for many years to come without the COP at some point formalizing a space to work on oceans and climate change specifically. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now have a representative from the Division of Ocean Affairs and Law of the Sea from the UN.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Fernando Cabrera Diaz from Doalos, and I wanted to thank the co-facilitators for this great side event. And quickly just wanted to invite you all to a side event that UN Oceans will be hosting on Saturday at 11:30, where we will hopefully have our co-facilitators again. And this is on striving for ambitious ocean-based action, how UN Oceans can support states in scaling up ocean related actions, including in the context of the next round of the NDCs. In that context, we will be discussing also how the BBNJ agreement can contribute to mitigation and adaptation under the UNFCCC. And just quickly to say that UN Oceans is the interagency mechanism for cooperation and coordination among UN entities, including the Secretariat of the UNFCCC, with competence in oceans and coastal matters. So hope to see all of you on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to be recognized to speak? Representative from Australia.
Thank you very much, and apologies that I'm taking the floor again and you have to listen to my voice. Just wanted to quickly reiterate thank you to the co-facilitators in my party capacity. The dialogue's importance to Australia as an island nation, and also the importance of Indigenous knowledges, sciences and practices in all climate action. We welcome the informal summary report, particularly the practical ways forward provided by both parties and observers. Australia would like to see the continuation of this trajectory with the dialogue continuing with upcoming negotiations, with upcoming negotiations to drive integration and mainstreaming in a productive and considered manner in line with its core mandate. We encourage UNFCCC constituted bodies and work programs to consider the informal summary report's ways forward and to further strengthen ocean-based action. We stand ready to work with others should there be an opportunity for oceans to be included in outcomes documents or a cover decision. And finally, I just want to express Australia's hope that future dialogues will continue to respect and make space for social, environmental, economic and cultural considerations. Thank you.
Thank you. This will conclude the interventions part of the event, but again, if you'd like to submit written comments, ocean@unfccc.int, we'll take statements. Thank you. Julio and Niall, back over to you for closing.
Thank you very much, and I think it's been a great side event. I think it's as you can see, this is what Niall and I have been dealing with in terms of the variety of vision, the richness of the discussions, and the interest present, but also about the challenges. I think many of us could see and hear the examples that were presented in our panel. I think we had excellent presentations, and I think I will take one of the ideas that was presented at some point during the side event, that maybe one of the most important elements of our dialogue, if there was any success in our dialogue, I think it was precisely because of the collaborative approach that we had with parties, with stakeholders, with observers that really were in the forefront of the dialogue. So I think that's extremely useful, and I hope that will continue to be a very central feature of our dialogue. Of course, Niall and I will be participating in our national capacities in the next dialogues, but we will continue contributing, I'm sure, from our own perspective. So I think this is really the last opportunity that we have really as co-facilitators to address the ocean community. I think only for me is to say that thank you very much for the honor really and the opportunity to contribute from this position. This is an ongoing process. We have been saying in our reports that the reports represent sort of a build-up of a knowledge basis that will continue grow in the next years. And our intent is precisely to head into the direction that we fill the gap of knowledge of parties, that we continue finding opportunities for collaborate among us, with parties, with observers, and hopefully we will see a very substantive ocean elements in the next round of NDCs, which is happening at the moment. So with that, this is a continuation of the story. This is not the final moment, although, as you can see in the picture there, apparently that we are sort of saying goodbye, but we're not. This is only a chapter in the and hopefully stronger and even more relevant dialogue in the future. So from my end, thank you so much. Thank you for this event. Thank you for the participation, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
And for my part, I know I stand between us and being kicked out of this room, so I'll be very brief. Just to say it's been an honor to serve in this capacity. We look forward to continuing to be actively engaged in this dialogue and in the broader ocean community in the years ahead. I think, as Julio noted, there has been a strong evolution in a very short number of years in where the ocean sits in the UNFCCC process. I think this dialogue has a unique role in connecting not just what happens in the UNFCCC process, but what happens across UN bodies. I very much take the message that we strengthen its connection to other constituted bodies and to the work streams within this forum and beyond. And I wish the best to our successors in these roles and to you all in continuing to engage constructively and actively